Live from Maisha Times newsroom, I'm your host Marco Rio, and welcome our viewers in Kenya and around the world. Thank you for tuning in with us as we cover the most pressing issues shaping our global landscape, to political unrest and human rights challenges to groundbreaking stories of resilience and progress. We are with you for the next 30 minutes. Make sure to share your thoughts on our social media platforms at Maisha Times at Twitter, Maisha Times at Facebook, and this is Maisha Times Newsreel. With the rapid increase in internet usage among children and youth, online safety has become more critical concern for parents, educators, and policymakers worldwide. Recent reports show that children are spending more time online, but this growth in connectivity has led to an increase in cyber threats such as cyberbullying, online predators, and harmful content.
Cyberbullying is a big disease. It has affected the youth tremendously. The youth are being driven to committing suicide because they've received death threats, they've received negative comments that degrades their morality, that degrades their human nature. It has negatively impacted these affected families because they lose a loved one who has negatively seen or has negatively been impacted by these comments.
I think, in my opinion, it's needed for children to be given moderated internet time and screen time, because there are so many risks to the internet in terms of what they watch, what they're seeing, the people they're interacting with, and especially in this day and age where everyone's on the internet. I think it's very important for them to be the amount of time they spend on the internet to be regulated. Yes.
What are some of the illicit drugs that are being abused?
Second part, the most commonly abused drugs that we see in the country. There may be a variation from county to county, but generally what we see is alcohol as the most commonly abused, followed by cannabis, and we see cocaine, we see heroin, we see amphetamines, we see also benzodiazepines. These are usually prescription drugs. We see, I said heroin, but the other one, synthetic, would be opioids that are usually prescribed by doctors for pain, but then eventually end up as drugs of abuse. Yes.
What are some of the programs that are being led by the government to curb issues of drug abuse?
I think there's a lot of effort to create awareness around drug addiction, and I've seen a lot of campaigns done by, again, NACADA to educate people on different kinds of drugs and what you were asking about availability and distribution, so that they can try and reduce the availability and distribution as a way of preventing drug use. So I would say we're making a lot of effort, and hopefully there would be some positive results, or there are positive results as the efforts are being made.
How can community-based organizations, families, and schools come together to curb the issue of drug abuse in young people?
Communities can perhaps reduce or completely remove the social permission for using drugs, because you see, if you go to certain communities and the elders are consuming alcohol, then that itself, just seeing that, is evidence that you have social permission to do it. Maybe not at this age, but you can do it at that age. And you see, when you're young, you're very curious and you really want to try things even before your time comes. So reducing social permission would be one way among different communities. Number two, creating support systems, especially for teenagers when they're going through this identity formation as a psychosocial aspect. There are different ways that they're growing, but this particular one, where they're starting to ask themselves who they are. So creating access to good role models that teenagers can interact with and see what they want to become would also be helpful.
Expired medication, especially in the house. the best way to dispose of them is to ban them. Okay? If not, you can return them to your local pharmacy, and we have ways of disposing of those drugs safely. Yeah. So the resources that are available are therapy, the counseling services, rehabilitation centers. Yeah, those are the ones that we have in place. They have guidelines on how to take people through their addiction. Yeah.
I actually think drugs is something recently that has affected many youths. It's affecting our lifestyles, how we conduct our lives. Simply, it has really taken a toll on us. My advice would necessarily be just, guys, we need to find things that will distract us from using these things.
Very much, Mark. Drugs like heroin, cocaine, and marijuana are easily accessible, with many falling into addiction out of desperation, peer pressure, and lack of opportunities. The consequences are far-reaching: broken families, rising crime rates, and generations at risk. Young people, once filled with potential, find themselves trapped in a cycle that's very hard to escape. Communities are feeling the strains as drug abuse fuels violence and instability. But hope is not lost. With strong community awareness, education, and more support from rehabilitation programs, Mombasa can fight back. By coming together, we are offering alternatives that we can break the chains of addiction and give our youth a brighter future.
We are now going on a short commercial break. Keep sharing your thoughts and tune in. Yes, and on our continuing Kenyan stories, upcoming general election is set to take place in the later years, with voters preparing to choose their next president, lawmakers, and local government leaders. The race for presidency is expected to be highly competitive, with President Ruto seeking a re-election after assuming office in 2022 following his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. He faces challenges from a range of opposition candidates such as Kalonzo Musyoka, and with the help of Rigiji, who is positioning himself as a strong contender. Voter registration and political campaigns are already underway, with parties focusing on economic development, job creation, and improving healthcare as key issues. There have also been calls for electoral reforms to ensure a transparent and fair voting process, with some of the opposition groups expressing concerns over past elections. Security forces are being deployed across the country to ensure peaceful elections, and international observers are expected to monitor the process. The people of Kenya will head to the polls in August 2027, hoping for a free and fair, peaceful election that will shape the country's future.
People feel that the elections are not free and fair. People feel that the elections are free and fair, but there are some discrepancies here and there. But most people right now are a bit split on the upcoming election. Most of them are talking about, Kasongo must go in 2027. And other people are saying that Kasongo needs time. So the feeling on the ground is a bit mixed.
Yes, and now we will be joined by our democratic analyst, Ferdinand Otieno. Welcome. Yes, Mr. Ferdinand, how has the political landscape in Kenya evolved over the years? Yes.
First of all, IEBC is a very important and fundamental organization or institution to the leadership and democracy of Kenya. It's very important such that its formation, its operation has been entrenched in the Kenyan Constitution. This is to give it the authority and the power to preserve, to midwife Kenya's democracy. That being said, when we talk about capacity, we must also look at expectation. Does it have the relevant capacity to fulfill the expectations of every Kenyan voter?
What role does the youth have in this upcoming Kenya's election, and how are the political parties engaging with the young people?
On aspects of voter education, civil education, they have done admirably well, in that, for example, every voter, by the time they are going to vote, they know which positions they're voting for. On the other is they have really tried well. The previous years and issues on delay of voting materials or non-existent voting materials, they have really worked hard on that.
How do you assess the democratic process in Kenya politically, particularly in terms of free and fair elections and political pluralism? Yes.
When we talk about capacity, we must also look at expectation. Does it have the relevant capacity to fulfill the expectations of every Kenyan voter? On some items, we can give them a kudos that they have done well with the resources that are under their custody. On some aspects, I believe that they can do much better.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.